Commander Sarah Chen stood at the massive window of Nexus Prime Station. The view outside took her breath away. Dozens of alien ships floated in space like sleeping giants. Some looked like crystals, others moved like living creatures. A few were so strange that her mind could not understand their shape. "Amazing, is it not?" said a voice behind her. Sarah turned around. Admiral Vex-High walked toward her. He was tall and thin, with blue skin and 4 arms. His species, the Zentari, ran most of the Galactic Trade Federation. His smile showed teeth that were too sharp. "It is beautiful," Sarah said. "We are honored to be here." Yes. Humanity is very lucky. Not many species get invited to join the Federation so early." Vex-High's voice was smooth, but Sarah heard something else in it, something that made her feel small. Behind Sarah stood the rest of the human team. Dr. Marcus Webb was busy taking notes on his tablet. Chief Engineer Rosa Martinez was studying the alien ships through the window. She had that look in her eyes, the one she got when she saw something that could be fixed or improved. "Come," Vex-High said. "The ceremony is about to begin." They walked through corridors filled with aliens Sarah had never seen before. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others looked like walking rocks. A few glowed with their own light. All of them stared at the humans as they passed. The ceremony hall was enormous. It could have held a football stadium inside. Thousands of aliens sat in seats that floated in the air. At the front, a stage held representatives from the most important species in the galaxy. "Humans of Earth," announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You stand before the Galactic Trade Federation as the newest junior members of our great alliance." Sarah and her team walked to the center of the stage. The lights were bright and hot. Sarah could feel millions of eyes watching her. "Your species has shown promise," the voice continued. "You have achieved faster than light travel. You have learned to work together as one world. These are good first steps." Sarah wanted to mention that humanity had done much more than that. They had survived wars, diseases, and disasters. They had built amazing cities and sent people to other planets, but she stayed quiet. As is tradition, the Federation offers a gift to help new species begin their journey among the stars. Admiral Vex-High stepped forward. "Humanity, we present you with decommissioned materials from across the galaxy. These items will help you learn and grow over the coming centuries." On the giant screen above, Sarah saw images of what looked like a massive junkyard. Broken ship parts floated in space. Old weapons systems sat in piles. Pieces of technology she could not identify were scattered everywhere. "This is very generous," Vex-High said, his sharp teeth showing. "Most species take 500 to 1,000 years to build their first useful starship from such materials. But do not worry. You have time to learn." ITV, the other aliens in the audience made sounds that Sarah thought might be laughter. She felt her face get hot. They were making fun of humanity. They thought humans were children playing with toys. Dr. Webb leaned close to Sarah's ear. "Look at the variety," he whispered. "I can see at least 12 different types of technology in those images." Sarah looked again. He was right. The junk came from many different alien species. Each piece was built using different ideas and methods. Most of the aliens here only knew their own way of building things. Chief Martinez was also studying the images. Her eyes were bright with excitement. She saw what the others did not. This was not junk. This was opportunity. "We accept this generous gift with gratitude," Sarah said into the microphone. Her voice was calm and professional. "Humanity will make good use of these materials. I am sure you will try," Vex-High said. The way he said it made it clear he thought humans would fail. After the ceremony, Sarah and her team were given a tour of the station. They saw the great libraries filled with the knowledge of 1,000 worlds. They visited the markets where species traded goods from across the galaxy. They met diplomats and scientists and merchants. Everyone was polite. Everyone was also clearly looking down at them. "Do not feel bad," said a friendly alien who looked like a walking tree. "My species also started with donated materials. It took us 800 years to build our first real spacecraft. But look at us now. Sarah smiled and nodded. But inside, she was angry. These aliens had no idea what humanity could do. That evening, the human team met in their quarters aboard the station. The room was nice, but clearly designed for guests who were not expected to stay long. "They think we are stupid," Martinez said. She was pacing around the room like a caged animal. "Did you see how they looked at us? Did you see how they looked at us? They do not understand us," Dr. Webb said. He was still going through his notes. "Each species here developed in isolation. They perfected one way of doing things and never tried anything else." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. Webb pulled up images on his tablet. "Look at their technology. The Zentari use crystals for everything. Power, computers, weapons. The Thole species uses biological systems. They grow their ships instead of building them. The ancient progenitors used quantum fields, but none of them ever mixed these methods." Sarah looked at the images of the junk they had been given. Suddenly, she understood what Webb was seeing. "They gave us pieces from all of these species," she said slowly. "Exactly," Webb said. "They see it as broken parts that cannot work together. But what if we could make them work together?" "Ha!" Martinez stopped pacing. Her eyes lit up with the same excitement Sarah had seen during the ceremony. "We are not going to rebuild their technology," Sarah said. "We are going to build something completely new." The next morning, massive cargo ships began loading the decommissioned materials into human vessels. Admiral Vex High came to see them off. "Good luck with your learning process," he said. "Perhaps in a few centuries, you will have something to show for it." Sarah shook his hand with all four of hers. "Thank you again for the gift, Admiral. I think you will be surprised by what humanity can accomplish." As the human ships prepared to leave for Earth, Sarah stood at the window one last time. The alien vessels still looked impressive. But now she saw something else. They all looked the same. Each species had found one way to build ships and stuck with it forever. Humans were different. Humans took things apart and put them back together in new ways. Humans looked at problems and found solutions that no one else had thought of. "They have no idea what they just gave us," Sarah said quietly to her team. The journey back to Earth would take several weeks. Sarah spent the time planning. By the time they reached home, she would have a complete design for humanity's first real space project. It was not going to be like anything the galaxy had ever seen. The cargo ships arrived at Luna Base 3 weeks later. The moon's largest construction hangar had been cleared to make room for the alien materials. When the doors opened, even Chief Martinez whistled in amazement. The junkyard was bigger than anyone had expected. Broken ship hulls the size of city blocks sat next to delicate crystal arrays that hummed with leftover energy. Biological computers that still pulsed with green light were piled next to quantum field generators that bent space around them. "Where do we even start?" asked Lieutenant Jackson, one of the younger engineers. "We start by taking everything apart," Martinez said. She was already walking toward a Zentari crystal matrix the size of a car. "Every bolt, every wire, every crystal. We need to understand how each piece works." Dr. Webb set up his laboratory in a separate section of the hangar. His job was to study the scientific principles behind each technology. Sarah had given him a simple mission: find out why these different systems had never been combined before. "The first thing I discovered is amazing," Webb told Sarah during their morning meeting 2 weeks later. "Each alien species thinks their way is the only right way." He pulled up holographic displays showing the different technologies. "The Zentari believe crystals are perfect for storing and moving energy. They never even tried biological systems. The Thole species grows everything from living tissue. They think mechanical parts are inferior. The progenitors used quantum fields for everything, but they disappeared before they could share their knowledge." Sarah studied the displays. "So each species stayed in their own, what would you call it? Their own bubble?" "Exactly. They developed one approach and perfected it over thousands of years. They never experimented with mixing different methods. Meanwhile, Martinez and her teams were learning things that made the alien engineers would have called impossible. They discovered that Zentari crystals could be grown inside Thole biological tissue. The living tissue made the crystals stronger and more flexible. They found that progenitor quantum fields could power biological computers at incredible speeds. Look at this. Martinez showed Sarah a small device that looked like a crystal flower. Zentari energy crystal grown inside Thole biological housing, powered by a miniature quantum field generator. According to everything we know about alien science, this should not work. But it does work? Martinez grinned. It works better than any of the original technologies. The biological tissue protects the crystal. The quantum field makes it 10 times more powerful, and the crystal focuses the energy in ways the quantum generator could never do alone. The breakthrough came during the 6th week. Dr. Webb was studying a broken progenitor ship core when he made a discovery that changed everything. "Sarah, you need to see this," Webb called over the communication system. He sounded excited and scared at the same time. Sarah found him staring at readings that made no sense. Energy levels were jumping all over the place. Warning lights flashed on his equipment. "What happened?" "I tried something stupid," Webb said. "I connected a progenitor quantum stabilizer to a Thole bio-neural network and powered it with Zentari crystal energy. The theory said it should have blown up immediately, but it did not blow up. Not only did it not blow up, it started evolving. The biological network began adapting to the quantum fields. The crystal matrix started growing new connections. It is like they are teaching each other." Sarah looked at the readings. "How much power is it producing?" 300% above the theoretical maximum for any of the individual systems. Sarah felt her heart race. This was it. This was the key to everything. "Webb, I want you to scale this up. Use bigger components. See how far we can push this." "Sarah, we could lose the whole laboratory. We have no idea what the upper limits are. Then we build the test facility somewhere safe. Mars orbit maybe, far from Earth." Over the next few months, Luna Base became the busiest place in the solar system. Human engineers worked around the clock, taking apart alien technology and putting it back together in ways that had never been tried before. They discovered that human engineering principles worked perfectly with alien technology. The human habit of building backup systems for everything made alien devices much more reliable. Human modular design meant that when one part broke, the system could keep working. Most importantly, humans were not afraid to break things and try again. "The aliens treat their technology like art," Martinez explained to a group of new engineers. "They build it perfectly the first time and never change it. We treat technology like tools. If it breaks, we fix it. If we can make it better, we do." The first major test came 4 months after the materials arrived. Sarah stood in the control room of the Mars orbital station, watching the final preparations for the engine test. The device they had built looked like nothing in any alien database. It was part crystal, part biological tissue, part quantum field generator, and part human mechanical engineering. Sarah had started calling it the synthesis engine because it synthesized all the different approaches into one system. "All teams report ready," came the voice from the test facility. "Begin the test," Sarah ordered. The engine started slowly. Crystals began to glow. Biological networks pulsed with energy. Quantum fields bent space around the device. For a moment, everything looked normal. Then the readings went wild. "Power output is climbing," the technician called out. 200% of expected levels. 300. 400. "Should we shut it down?" asked Dr. Webb. Sarah watched the readings. The engine was producing more energy than any alien technology in recorded history. But all systems showed stable. The human engineering modifications were working perfectly. "Let it run," she said. 500%. 600. 700% of expected output. The quantum fields around the engine began to pulse with colors that had no names. The biological components started growing and adapting in real time. The crystal matrix sang with harmonics that made the test station vibrate. 800%, 900%, 1000% of theoretical maximum. At 1000%, the engine stabilized. It hummed quietly, producing more energy than a small star. All systems showed green. The human backup systems had not even been needed. Test complete, Sarah announced. Shut it down. As the engine powered down, the test facility fell silent. Then someone started clapping. Soon, everyone in the control room was cheering. Dr. Webb came over to Sarah. Do you realize what we just did? We proved that the aliens were wrong about combining technologies. No, Sarah. We proved that humans see possibilities that no one else in the galaxy has ever imagined. This engine is more powerful than anything the Federation has ever built, and it is just our first try. Sarah looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Federation was going about its business. The aliens thought humanity was still struggling with basic technology. They had no idea that Luna Base was now building something that would change everything. How long until we can build a full-sized version? Sarah asked Martinez. Give me a year. Maybe 18 months. But Sarah, what are we going to do with an engine that powerful? We will need to build a ship around it, Sarah smiled. Then we build a ship, something that can use all this power, something that shows the galaxy what humans can really do. What kind of ship? Sarah looked at the test data one more time. The numbers still seemed impossible, but they were real. The kind of ship that makes the aliens realize they underestimated us. 18 months later, long-range sensors across 3 star systems detected something strange coming from the direction of Earth. The energy readings were unlike anything in the galactic databases. On Nexus Prime Station, Admiral Vex High stared at the reports his science team had brought him. The numbers made no sense. This must be a mistake, he said to his assistant. Run the readings again. We have run them 5 times, Admiral. The energy signature is real. Something in the Sol system is producing massive amounts of power. Vex High studied the data. The energy levels were higher than most space stations produced, much higher. And the signature was completely unknown. What do the humans say when we ask them about it? They say they are conducting industrial experiments. They thank us for our concern, but decline any assistance. Vex High felt a small worry in the back of his mind. Humans had been quiet since they took their gift of decommissioned materials. Too quiet. Most new species sent regular reports about their progress. They asked for help and advice. Humans had done none of these things. Send a patrol to check on them, Vex High ordered. Something might have gone wrong with their experiments. Meanwhile, in the hidden construction facility beyond Pluto, Commander Sarah Chen stood before the most amazing sight of her life. The ship hanging in the zero-gravity construction bay was 2 kilometers long and looked like controlled chaos. The hull was not smooth like alien ships. Instead, it was covered in sections that could move and change. Some parts were grown from Thol biological armor that could heal itself when damaged. Other sections were made from Zentari crystal arrays that could bend energy around the ship. Quantum field generators created spaces that were bigger on the inside than the outside. She is beautiful, said Captain Elena Vasquez, the woman chosen to command the ship. Captain Vasquez had been selected from hundreds of candidates. She had commanded Earth's largest military vessels and had never lost a battle. More importantly, she thought like most humans, creative, flexible, and always ready to try something new. Have you picked a name yet? Sarah asked. The team has been calling her Synthesis for so long, it seems wrong to change it now, Vasquez replied. She is the synthesis of everything we learned. The ship's computer core was perhaps the strangest part of the entire project. It combined Zentari crystal processing with Thol bio-neural networks and human quantum computers. The result was an artificial intelligence unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Hello, Captain Vasquez, the ship's AI said when they activated it for the first time. The voice was pleasant, but had an edge that sounded very human. I have been studying human military history while you were away. Fascinating reading. Do you have a name? Vasquez asked. I have chosen to call myself Darwin. I find the concept of adaptation very appealing. Sarah smiled. The AI had named itself after the human scientist who discovered evolution. It was already thinking like a human, always adapting, always finding new ways to survive and grow. Darwin, run a full systems check, Vasquez ordered. All systems are functioning at optimal levels, Captain. though I should mention that optimal for this ship is far beyond anything in the galactic database. We are operating in completely uncharted territory. Weapons. I have access to 17 different weapon types from 8 alien species, all modified with human engineering principles. I can create new combinations in real time as needed. Defenses. Biological armor that heals itself, quantum shields that can phase out of normal space, crystal arrays that can absorb and redirect energy attacks. Oh, and human-designed backup systems for everything. If something breaks, I can probably fix it while we are fighting. Vasquez looked at Sarah. How does she compare to Federation warships? Sarah pulled up comparison charts. There is no comparison. This ship is operating on completely different principles. Federation ships are specialized. They do one thing very well. Synthesis can do everything. And if we run into trouble, then we find out if our theories work in the real world. 1 week later, a Federation patrol ship arrived in the Sol system. Captain Mordak, of the Zentari fleet, expected to find humans struggling with some kind of industrial accident. What he found instead made him question his instruments. Sensors detect no signs of distress, his science officer reported. In fact, all human colonies show normal activity. Then what is causing these energy readings? Unknown, Captain. The humans are blocking our deep scans. They say it violates their privacy. Captain Mordak tried to contact Earth directly. The conversation was polite but frustrating. Greetings, Captain Mordak, said Commander Chen from Earth. How can we help you today? We detected unusual energy signatures from your system. The Federation wishes to ensure you need no assistance. That is very kind, but we are fine. Just some industrial projects, nothing to worry about. Perhaps we could send a technical team to help? Thank you, but we prefer to work independently. We will contact the Federation if we need assistance. The connection ended, leaving Captain Mordak staring at a blank screen. In his 50 years of service, no species had ever refused Federation help. Most new civilizations begged for guidance and support. Captain, I am detecting a massive artificial structure in the outer system. His science officer called out. It appears to be some kind of shipyard. On screen, the image that appeared made Captain Mordak's 4 hearts skip. The human construction facility was enormous, larger than most space stations. And inside, it was something that looked like a warship, but it was not like any warship in the galaxy. It was too big, too complex, too different. Scan the vessel, Mordak ordered. I am trying, Captain, but my scans are being blocked. The humans say the facility is private property. Mordak felt that small worry grow into real concern. The Federation had given humanity scrap metal and broken technology. Somehow, humans had built something that his advanced sensors could not properly analyze. Return to base immediately, he ordered. I need to speak with Admiral Vex-High. Back on Nexus Prime, Admiral Vex-High listened to Captain Mordak's report with growing disbelief. You are telling me that humans built a warship in less than 2 years? I am telling you they built something, Admiral. I cannot say what it is. But it is big, and they are very secretive about it. Vex-High called up the files on humanity. When the Federation had first made contact, humans had seemed like typical primitive species. They had basic space travel and simple weapons. Nothing impressive. Perhaps we underestimated their progress, Vex-High admitted. But even if they built a ship, how dangerous could it be? They are using our old technology. That is what worries me, Admiral. What if they found a way to use it differently than we expected? Vex-High dismissed the concern. Impossible. Those technologies have been studied for thousands of years. There are no new discoveries to be made. But deep in his mind, Admiral Vex-High felt the same worry that Captain Mordak had experienced. Humans were different from other species. They did not follow the usual patterns. Meanwhile, on the Synthesis, Captain Vasquez was running final system tests. Everything worked perfectly, better than perfectly. The ship was ready for its first real mission. Darwin, how do you feel about our chances in a real fight? Vasquez asked. Captain, I have studied every battle in galactic history. Traditional tactics assume that ships have fixed capabilities. Our ship can change its capabilities in real time. Any enemy that fights us using standard tactics will lose. And if they adapt, then we adapt faster. That is what humans do best. Sarah Chen joined them on the bridge for the final preparations. Elena, you know this mission could change everything. Once the galaxy sees what this ship can do, there will be no going back. I understand. But Sarah, keeping this secret much longer will be impossible. The Federation is already asking questions. Then maybe it is time to give them some answers. Sarah looked out at the stars through the bridge windows. Somewhere out there, Admiral Vexhai was probably trying to figure out what humans were really doing. Soon, he would not have to wonder. Set course for the nearest Federation patrol route, Sarah ordered. Are we looking for trouble? Vasquez asked. No. But if trouble finds us, let us see what happens when the galaxy meets something it has never seen before. The emergency alert reached every Federation world at the same time. Admiral Vexhai was reviewing reports about human activities when his communication system erupted with urgent messages. Admiral, we have a priority Alpha emergency, his assistant called out. The Kepler frontier is under attack. Attack? By whom? The main screen showed images that made Vexhai's blood freeze. Massive black ships, each the size of a moon, were moving through space like a plague of metal locusts. They consumed everything in their path: asteroids, planets, even stars. Who are they? We do not know, Admiral. They appeared without warning and began destroying entire star systems. Our research teams think they might be the Devourers. Vexhai had heard stories of the Devourers when he was young. Ancient legends spoke of mechanical beings that ate entire galaxies before disappearing into the dark between stars. Most people thought they were myths. How many ships? Over 200 confirmed, Admiral, and they are building more from the materials they consume. The Federation's response was swift but hopeless. The greatest fleets in galactic history assembled at the Kepler frontier: Zentari crystal ships, Thol bio-vessels, Corvin metal dreadnoughts, and dozens of other species brought their finest warships to face this new threat. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Federation fleet had been completely destroyed. Impossible, Vexhai whispered as he watched the battle recordings. Those were our best ships, our best crews. The Devourers had fought like nothing in galactic memory. When the Federation used energy weapons, the enemy adapted and became immune to energy. When they switched to kinetic weapons, the Devourers changed their armor to absorb kinetic impacts. Every tactic the galaxy had perfected over thousands of years failed. Worse, the Devourers learned from each attack. By the end of the battle, they were using Federation tactics against the Federation fleets. Sir, we are receiving reports that the enemy is advancing toward the core systems, the communications officer reported. At their current speed, they will reach Nexus Prime in 48 hours. Vexhai stared at the tactical display. Red enemy symbols were spreading across the map like spilled blood. Everything the Federation had built over millennia was about to be destroyed. Admiral, said his science advisor, we have one option left. What option? The humans. Vexhai looked at her in surprise. The humans? What can they do that our best fleets could not? They have built something, Admiral. Something our sensors cannot fully analyze. If there is any chance of stopping the Devourers, it might be our only hope. Vexhai felt his pride fighting with his desperation. Asking humans for help would mean admitting that the Federation had been wrong about them, but watching his civilization die would be worse. Open a channel to Earth. Commander Sarah Chen appeared on the screen a few minutes later. She looked calm, as if the end of the galaxy was just another problem to solve. Admiral Vexhai, she said politely, I heard about the situation. We are very sorry for the Federation's losses. Commander Chen, I am calling to request assistance. The Federation faces complete destruction. We need every available ship. Of course, Admiral, we would be happy to help. How many ships can humanity provide? 1. Vexhai blinked. 1? That is all? It is all we have available right now, but I think you will find it adequate. Commander, with respect, one human ship cannot accomplish what 200 Federation vessels could not. Sarah's smile reminded Vexhai of the expression she had worn when accepting the gift of scrap metal. Admiral, you might be surprised by what humanity has accomplished with your generous donation. 4 hours later, the synthesis dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the Centauri Gate. The surviving Federation ships had made their final stand there. Admiral Corvin of the Thole Fleet was preparing for a hopeless last battle. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth ship Synthesis," came a transmission. "We are here to assist." Admiral Corvin looked at his tactical display. The human ship was enormous, but it was still only one vessel. The Devourer fleet had over 50 ships approaching the gate. "Captain Vasquez, we appreciate your courage, but you should retreat while you can. We cannot protect you in the coming battle." "Admiral, we did not come here to be protected." Corvin watched as the human ship moved into position. It was unlike any vessel he had ever seen. Parts of it seemed to shift and change as he watched. The hull showed signs of at least 6 different alien technologies. But they were all wrong somehow. "Human vessel, please transmit your technical specifications for fleet coordination," Corvin requested. "Darwin, send them our basic capabilities," Captain Vasquez ordered. The data that arrived made no sense to the Federation computers. Energy output readings that violated known physics. Weapon systems that combined incompatible technologies. Defensive measures that should not work together. "Are these readings correct?" Corvin asked. "They are conservative estimates, Admiral. We prefer not to show all our capabilities until necessary." The Devourer fleet arrived 20 minutes later. Their black ships moved through space like a swarm of mechanical death. They immediately began scanning the Federation defensive positions. "All Federation ships, this is Admiral Corvin. Prepare for final battle. May your ancestors guide you to victory." "Admiral," Captain Vasquez cut in. "With respect, we would like to try a different approach." Before Corvin could respond, the synthesis moved forward. It passed through the Federation defensive line and flew directly toward the enemy fleet. "The humans have lost their minds," someone said over the communication channel, but Admiral Corvin was watching his sensors carefully. The Devourer ships were trying to scan the human vessel, but they were having the same problems the Federation had experienced. Their sensors could not get clear readings. The first Devourer ship fired a beam of pure energy that could melt a planet. The beam struck the synthesis directly and passed right through it. "Quantum phase shifting," Captain Vasquez explained calmly over the communication system. "Very useful defensive measure. We learned it from progenitor technology." The Devourer ship tried again with a different type of weapon. This time, the synthesis absorbed the energy and fired it back twice as strong. "Crystal energy matrices," Vasquez continued. The Zentari knew what they were doing. The enemy ship adapted and tried biological weapons that could eat through any known material. The synthesis suddenly grew new armor that consumed the biological attack and became stronger. Thole bioregeneration systems, quite impressive when you upgrade them properly. Admiral Corvin realized he was watching something that should not exist. The human ship was using technologies that every species in the galaxy considered incompatible. But not only were they working together, they were working better than they ever had separately. "Captain Vasquez," Corvin called. "How is this possible?" "Simple, Admiral. You gave us the pieces of 1,000 civilizations and forgot the most important thing, which is, humans do not read the manual. The battle that followed would be talked about for generations. The synthesis fought like no ship in galactic history. When the Devourers adapted to one weapon, the human ship switched to something completely different. When they tried to learn human tactics, the ship changed tactics faster than they could learn. Most importantly, the human ship seemed to repair and improve itself during the battle. Damaged sections regrew stronger than before. New weapons appeared when the old ones became less effective. "Admiral Corvin," Captain Vasquez called as the battle raged, "you might want to pull your ships back. We are about to try something that has never been tested in combat." "What are you going to do?" "Something really stupid. Darwin, are you ready?" "I was born ready, Captain. Though technically, I was programmed ready." "Execute plan crazy." Admiral Corvin watched in amazement as the synthesis suddenly split into 6 different sections. Each section attacked a different part of the Devourer fleet, but they were still connected by quantum fields. sharing power and information instantly. Modular design, Vasquez explained. If you build something that can come apart, you can also build it to work better when it is apart. The Devourer fleet tried to adapt, but they could not handle fighting 6 separate targets that were actually one ship. Their scanning systems could not understand what they were facing. And then Captain Vasquez opened a communication channel that reached every ship in the area. Admiral Vex-High, if you are listening to this, we want to say thank you. Thank us for what? Came the Admiral's voice from Nexus Prime. For the scrap metal. We could not have built this without your help. The synthesis was winning. A single human ship was defeating an enemy that had destroyed the greatest fleets in galactic history. But Admiral Corvin could see that the Devourer fleet was preparing something new. The remaining enemy ships were combining into one massive vessel. Captain Vasquez, they are merging into a single target. We see it, Admiral. Darwin, time for the final test. Captain, are you sure about this? The calculations show only a 60% chance of success. 60% is better than 0%. Do it. Admiral Corvin watched as the human ship began to glow with energy that bent space around it. The synthesis was preparing for something that no ship in history had ever attempted. The merged Devourer ship was the size of a small moon. It moved toward the human vessel with the slow confidence of something that had never known defeat. Energy readings from the massive enemy ship were off every scale Admiral Corvin had ever seen. Captain Vasquez, Corvin transmitted urgently, you must retreat. That vessel has the combined power of their entire fleet. Admiral, we did not come this far to run away now, Vasquez replied. Her voice was calm, but Corvin could hear the tension underneath. Darwin, final systems check. All systems ready, Captain. Though I should mention that what we are about to attempt has never been done before by anyone, anywhere, ever. That is what makes it interesting. The synthesis began to change. Admiral Corvin watched in fascination as the human ship seemed to fold in on itself. Quantum fields twisted around it. Crystal matrices glowed brighter than small stars. Biological systems pulsed with energy that made space itself bend and warp. What are they doing? Someone asked over the communication channel. Something impossible, Corvin whispered. The Devourer ship fired first. A beam of pure destruction lanced out, the kind of weapon that could crack a planet in half. It struck the synthesis at the exact moment the human ship finished its transformation. The beam simply disappeared. Quantum absorption field, Captain Vasquez explained to the stunned Federation observers. We are not just avoiding their attacks, we are eating them. The energy from the Devourer weapon was flowing into the synthesis, making it stronger. The human ship began to glow with power that had never before existed in the galaxy. Impossible, Admiral Vex-High's voice came from Nexus Prime. No technology can absorb that much energy. You are right, Admiral, Vasquez replied. No single technology can do this. But we are not using a single technology. We are using all of them, working together. The Devourer ship tried a different approach. It launched thousands of smaller vessels, mechanical fighters that swarmed toward the synthesis like angry insects. Each fighter was the size of a Federation destroyer. The human ship responded by growing new weapons in real time. Biological launchers sprouted from its hull and fired crystal-tipped missiles guided by quantum targeting systems. The missiles did not just destroy the enemy fighters. They learned from each kill and became more effective against the next target. Their ship is evolving during the battle, Admiral Corvin reported to his surviving fleet. I have never seen anything like this. But the Devourer ship was also adapting. It began to split into multiple forms, trying to confuse human targeting systems. Each form used different weapons and moved in unpredictable patterns. Darwin, analysis? The enemy is attempting to overwhelm our processing capability by presenting multiple targets with varying characteristics. However, they appear to have forgotten something important about human tactical thinking. What is that? Humans cheat. The synthesis suddenly vanished from all sensors. For a moment, the battle stopped as both sides tried to figure out where the human ship had gone. Phase shifting to quantum dimension, Vasquez announced. We learned this trick from some very old progenitor files. Turns out, You can hide an entire ship between the spaces of normal reality. The Devourer vessels were firing wildly, trying to hit an enemy they could not see. Their sensors showed empty space, but they knew the human ship was somewhere nearby. Then the synthesis reappeared, directly inside the Devourer formation. "Surprise," Darwin said cheerfully. What happened next would be studied in military academies for centuries. The human ship fired every weapon it had, at point-blank range, into the heart of the enemy fleet. But these were not normal weapons. They were hybrid systems that combined the knowledge of every civilization the galaxy had ever produced. Zentari crystal beams that could cut through any material. Thol biological weapons that turned enemy armor into food for human systems. Progenitor quantum disruptors that erased matter from existence. And human kinetic weapons that were simple, reliable, and brutally effective. The Devourer ships tried to adapt, but they could not handle this many different types of attack at once. Their mechanical systems began to fail. Their ability to learn and change was overwhelmed by the sheer variety of human weapons. "Target the command ship," Vasquez ordered. "Captain, I am detecting massive energy buildup in the enemy flagship. I believe they are preparing some kind of final weapon." "What kind of weapon?" "Unknown, but based on energy readings, it could destroy this entire star system." Vasquez looked at her tactical display. The Devourer command ship was charging something that registered as a threat to everything within several light years. If it fired, not only would the Federation fleet be destroyed, but every world in this part of the galaxy would die. "Darwin, do we have any options?" "Only one, Captain. But it requires us to do something that every rule of physics says is impossible." "Tell me." "We phase directly into the enemy ship's core and detonate a contained quantum singularity. The explosion will destroy both vessels, but it will also prevent them from firing their weapon." Captain Vasquez felt her heart race. "How certain are you that this will work?" "Mathematically? About 30%. Practically? It is our only choice." Vasquez opened a channel to the Federation fleet. "Admiral Corvin, this is Captain Vasquez. We are going to stop the enemy flagship, but we will not survive the attempt. Captain, there must be another way." "There is not. Please make sure our story is told correctly. And tell Admiral Vex High that humanity kept its promise." "What promise?" "We said we would make good use of his gift." The synthesis began to glow with energy that made space itself scream. Quantum fields twisted around the ship as it prepared to phase into dimensions that should not exist. "Darwin, any last thoughts?" "It has been an honor serving with you, Captain. Also, I want to note that this is either the most brilliant tactical maneuver in history or the most spectacular failure. Either way, it will be remembered." The human ship vanished from normal space and reappeared in the heart of the Devourer flagship. For one impossible moment, two massive vessels occupied the same location at the same time. Then the quantum singularity detonated. The explosion that followed could be seen from 3 star systems away. It tore a hole in space itself, a hole that took several hours to heal. When the light faded and the sensors cleared, both ships were gone. Admiral Corvin stared at empty space where moments before the greatest battle in galactic history had raged. The Devourer fleet was destroyed. The threat that could have ended all life in the galaxy was finished, but so was the ship that had saved them. "This is Admiral Corvin to all surviving vessels. The enemy has been defeated. Humanity has saved us all." The communication channels erupted with cheers and amazement. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy as news of the victory spread. But Admiral Corvin felt only sadness. The bravest crew he had ever encountered was gone. Then his sensors detected something impossible. "Admiral," his science officer called out, "I am reading quantum phase signatures at the edge of the system." "What kind of signatures?" Before the science officer could answer, the synthesis materialized out of nowhere. The ship looked damaged but intact, and very much alive. "Synthesis to Federation fleet," came Captain Vasquez's voice. "Sorry we are late. We had to take the long way back from the quantum dimension." "Captain Vasquez, how did you survive?" "Modular design, Admiral. When we detonated the singularity, Darwin ejected our core systems into quantum space. We had to wait for the explosion to finish before we could phase back into normal reality. Remarkable. And the enemy? Gone. Completely gone. They cannot adapt to not existing. 3 weeks later, the greatest celebration in galactic history took place on Nexus Prime. Representatives from every Federation world came to honor the heroes who had saved civilization. Admiral Vex High stood before the assembled crowds, his voice carrying to billions of beings across the galaxy. Today, we change everything we thought we knew about our new friends from Earth, he began. Humanity has shown us that there are no limits to what can be achieved when different ideas work together. Captain Vasquez and Commander Chen stood on the stage, representing their entire species. The cheers from the crowd went on for 20 minutes. When the noise finally died down, Admiral Vex High approached Commander Chen personally. "Commander, I owe you an apology. When we gave you those decommissioned materials, I thought we were being generous to a primitive species. I was wrong." "You were not wrong to be generous, Admiral. You just did not understand what humanity would do with your gift. What will humanity do now? The galaxy owes you everything. Name any reward, and it is yours." Sarah Chen looked out at the crowd of alien species. Beings who had looked down on humanity just 2 years ago. Now they looked at humans with respect, admiration, and perhaps a little fear. "We want to continue learning, Admiral. And we want to continue building impossible things." "Building what?" Chen smiled the same smile she had worn when accepting the original gift of scrap metal. "A better galaxy. One where every species can contribute their best ideas. One where no one has to fight alone against the dark." As the celebration continued around them, Admiral Vex High realized that the balance of power in the galaxy had fundamentally changed. Humanity had not just built the most lethal warship ever seen. They had built a new way of thinking about technology, cooperation, and what was possible. Later that evening, as the human delegation prepared to return to Earth, Chief Martinez stood in the observation deck of Nexus Prime. She was looking at the construction yards where new ships were being built, ships that combined technologies from dozens of species, all working together. "Impressive, is it not?" Admiral Vex High said, joining her at the window. "It is a good start," Martinez replied. "But we are just getting started. Wait until you see what we build next." "What are you planning?" Martinez pointed to the stars. "There are threats out there that make the Devourers look like children with toys. When they come, the galaxy will need to be ready. And you think humanity can prepare us? I think humanity can teach everyone to prepare themselves. We do not want to be the galaxy's protectors, Admiral. We want to be the galaxy's teachers." Admiral Vex High looked at the human ships that were preparing to leave. Each one incorporated technologies from multiple species, built using human engineering principles. They were not the most beautiful ships he had ever seen, but they were probably the most capable. "Commander Chen was right," he said to himself. "You did not build the most lethal warship in the galaxy in spite of our scrap metal. You built it because of it." As the human fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel and disappeared into the stars, Admiral Vex High made a mental note to send